Hello, everyone. Dealing with wild drivers every day. When I was doing rideshare, initially it was nerve wracking, it was upsetting, but then it dawned on me like, hey, this is always how it was when you didn't have clients in your car. And even though it was upsetting then, it was really no issue because you would just go around them, maybe speeding, or I had my music playing. So it was just things taking place, events taking place where it didn't really bother me. And then I thought to myself, like, why worry about what you can't control? And I took this in when I was doing rideshare. So when I had a client in the back seat and someone was driving slow in front of me, sometimes I found myself saying, you know what, the hell with this. And I would just go around them, to the left, to the right. I know you all know about that. Those that currently do rideshare, and even the individuals that do not do rideshare. In fact, there's probably some bus drivers out there that do the same thing. But I don't know. I've never been a bus driver. But when I was doing rideshare and I did that, I hit the quick turn. I got a couple. Okay, okay. You trying to get me there quickly, safely. I like it. And I liked it too because, I like to not be caught in traffic. I don't like a driver in front of me that has their license, but by their actions on the road, they don't have their license. Unless it's the elderly. If it's the elderly, it's cool. If it's a young individual, and when I say young, I mean like just getting their license, the parents, they have the sticker on the back that say student driver, be patient. All right. I had grace for that. I had empathy for that. But even them, I want to get around them. And for the most part, all my clients liked it. In fact, there were those that would say, when I was driving, I used to drive just like you. I remember one time I took a client from A to B, did a couple of swerving, not to where their body was jolting from the left or from the right, but letting them know that, hey, we not gonna be in traffic today. They were like, wow, do you always drive this aggressive? And I was like, well, I'd rather be aggressive than passive. And sometimes the man would laugh, sometimes the woman would laugh. And then they would say, I got to keep that in mind once I get my car back. I was like, yeah, keep that in mind. No one likes a slowpoke. And even if you're in the right lane, you have to deal with a wild driver. And see, when I say wild driver, when I was doing rideshare, I'm talking about a person that is not on no shenanigans, but they just not moving with the flow of traffic, or they're stopping unnecessarily, or they're not paying attention because we're at a light and they're taking all day to make that left turn or that right turn. It's like, why are you on the road? I remember one time I was doing rideshare and I heard a client say, what are they doing? And I was thinking to myself, I was just about to say that, but they beat me to it. It was almost kind of like they were at a sports game and being a fan, me getting them to where they need to be, like, you're holding him up. And of course, they were holding me up. And I know you all may be saying that, hey, people can look at you and say that you're a wild driver. And I would say, I am. I definitely am a wild driver. When I had clients in my car, I was a wild driver. When there were no clients in my car, I was a wild driver. But this is the thing. Most people, if they're being honest, especially those that do rideshare and sit in the back seat, from what I was told, they love a wild driver, aka one that's going to get them to where they need to be, one that's not going to be making love to the road, taking their time, not knowing where they're going, asking them questions. Because when a client gets into your car, they want to relax. They want to ease their mind. They do not want to feel as though they're driving. Because why is this, you may ask? Because they're not driving. Like, they want be doing what I was doing as the driver or any other individual that was on the rideshare app, they would have drove themselves. Caveat: those that don't believe in driving, some individuals have medical reasons so they don't drive, or their cars under under um, under maintenance right now. Those individuals could be different, but for the most part, everyone is trying to get to where they're trying to get to quickly. I know that from my over 2,000 rides. I've been told, or I was told, excuse me, many times, hey, thank you for getting me there safely. Thank you for getting me there fast. Thank you for not asking me which way to go. I was like, hey, no problem. It was my duty to get you to where you need to be. I knew you had a long day at work. I knew that it was Friday. It was supposed to be a good Friday. It's not supposed to be a he's getting on my nerve Friday. You know, you pick up a client, I pick up a client, and what would it look like? I'm not leading them on the road as if I don't know where I'm going, making it seem like I'm not up to par as a rideshare driver, as a contractor, as a former business owner. But that's to be expected when you do rideshare. Anyone that's getting into it, understand that there will be wild drivers, and wild drivers is not necessarily a negative thing. Though that could be one perspective, the other perspective is the positive thing. Like me being a wild driver when I was doing rideshare, that was positive because all my clients knew that I was not messing around. I was not bull jiving. I was not trying to hold them up. I was trying to get them there, like I was in Back to the Future driving. Now there were hiccups at times due to things out of my control, like rush hour traffic, car collision, car accidents, or detours due to construction being done, depending on the time of day, rush hour. But other than that, I was definitely a wild driver. And dealing with wild drivers is a wonderful thing because when I saw a wild driver, I was like, wow, they're all like me. They're trying to get to where the heck they need to go. Now, this is the thing. When I came across a wild driver who wasn't like my type of wild driver, which I call a negative wild driver, just holding up traffic, not knowing what the hell they doing, I'm like, get off the road. In fact, there were times, I don't know if how old you all are out there. When I was young, there was this game console called the Nintendo, and had Mario Brothers. I believe it was the Nintendo 64, where you could play with Yoshi. And you had to duck, and you can just throw it and knock people off the road. I even to this day, even though I no longer do rideshare, there's times I be wishing I had something like a duck, like Mario had, and just get people off the road because they're a negative wild driver. And again, a negative wild driver is one that don't know what the hell they doing on the road, one that cause rush hour traffic. In fact, that's probably why rush hour traffic happens outside of accidents. It's because we have these negative wild drivers. But again, we deal with wild drivers every day. Those that did ride share, those that currently did ride share, and plus one, even people not in the ride share life. Anyone that's behind the wheel, no matter your profession, you're dealing with a wild driver. But just understand, all wild drivers aren't equal. And you all know, everyone knows. But when you're dealing with a wild driver on the road, just smile because they like you. Or say, however you handle it. They call it road rage. I just call it expressing yourself. Because if somebody's driving like a jerk, I say stuff like now, like, hey, they're going to turn to salt. And for those and those that may not know what that means, that's just a cliche from one of them stories in the Bible dealing with Lot and his wife. When she was supposed to follow her husband lead, but she went a little back and she turned to salt. Can't really. That's a good one. Um, but yeah, dealing with wild drivers every day. Initially, it got on my nerves, but then when I took a step back and I was like, hey, you a wild driver when no one's in your car. Now, when I had clients, I was still a wild driver, but I was a cautious wild driver. I wasn't doing everything I did when I would ride solo, and I never had no complaints, not knowingly, because everyone want to get to where they want to get to. But I just want to bring you all this video today. Like, share, and subscribe, and you all have a good one. Talk to you all later. Peace.